Wealth Migrate CEO and founder Scott Picken is very passionate about entrepreneurship in South Africa and the world. He recently was hosting a workshop called Plan B around the country, where he tackled issues that day-to-day South Africans face in business. What were those issues, and did you overcome any of them?
Look, Matt, thanks very much for your time. For me personally, I'm very annoyed at the moment. A lot of South Africans are very negative. So the whole idea, if you've ever been a businessman, or any businessman out there will understand, you don't just have a plan A. You have a plan B, C, D, and E, because you never actually know what's going to take place. And the whole purpose behind the plan B was to debate and to discuss the issues that are out there. So some of the things people are concerned about is wealth preservation. How do you preserve your assets? How do you get to live in Africa and enjoy this abundant, brilliant place, but also put your assets in first world currencies and first world income so that you can have the best of both worlds? Some of the debate was around passports and whether you should go and get a first world passport. The challenge is that generally you get a first world passport, you don't end up buying yourself a decent asset. It's like buying a boat. We've discussed that before. So really it was a lot of discussion, but also it was how do you create wealth locally so that one day you can have the freedom to do whatever you want.
And what message did you carry to them about being in South Africa and having that kind of strength and will to go on?
Well, I think one of the things that most South Africans don't realize is that we've been given the greatest gift ever. And the reason being is that we grew up in an emerging economy where chaos was the normality and change was something we all just kind of got used to. And if you think about how to succeed in the 21st century, that's exactly what it's all about, especially in the emerging economy. So the message I give to most South Africans is that don't necessarily just want to jump ship and move to Australia or England and take your greatest skill and lose it because you move to a first world country where change and chaos is not the normality. But equally, for us as South Africans, we get to live here, but we don't need to only focus here. And when you look at the Great British Empire, Britain became great by not trying to do everything in England, but actually expanding across the globe and then bringing it all back to Britain and making Britain great. And my question to South Africans is, why can't we do that as well?
You've got a great use of the word no. Explain that.
So, I was asked a lot, we were discussing it, why are South Africans so successful around the world? I think Elon Musk is one of the best in terms of the way that he's literally revolutionizing transportation, space, and energy. And it was actually an Afrikaans lady in Durban that told me it. And I am a Durban boy, my Afrikaans is a bit weak, but she said no and no. And she said no, well, if you look at no, N-O-U, in Afrikaans, that means now. So the average South African all over the world, when they're told no, most other people just listen, but we think we must do it now. And so we just go out there and want to basically change the world and make it a better place.
So we don't understand the word no, in other words.
Well, and that's probably one of the greatest lessons I could ever give an entrepreneur, is that, I heard another thing from Martin Luther King recently, literally in the last 2 days. And he said there's two laws in life. There's nature's laws and there's man-made laws. And you've got to decide which one you're going to follow and whether they're congruent.
People inspire you, other entrepreneurs, other leaders. Who are they and what have they inspired you with?
I think, I've mentioned Elon Musk, but if I use three older entrepreneurs, for me, probably be three of them that are some of the best. The first one is my number one is Richard Branson. He's absolutely incredible guy. As you know, I got to spend a week with him just now in April at Necker Island, which was a dream come true. But that man started over 400 companies. And he's got one simple formula. He finds a problem, generally through local necessity, like personal necessity, and then he looks to provide a solution and just a better client experience for people. So whether it's gyms or planes or cola or you name it, that's what he's doing. And I think he's just such an incredible, passionate person that's why the world wants to get behind him. Another one for me is Henry Ford. We had cars. In fact, the first car was invented in the 1700s. Most people don't know that. In 1893, they thought it was going to be the end of world civilization because everyone was moving to the cities, and believe it or not, do you know what they were nervous about at the time?
What?
Horse poo. Because people, literally all had horse carts, and there was so much horse manure that they said in 1892 at a symposium in New York that civilization as we knew it was over. And yet Henry Ford in 1910 brought out the Model T Ford. And before that, cars were only for the really wealthy, and what he allowed it was to go to the middle and lower class. And he literally changed the landscape of the world as we know it today. He changed the economy. He changed everything. And then the third one for me that I think is incredible and someone I aspire to is Steve Jobs. In 1977, he actually said to everyone that one day we'll have a digital book. And in 2010, he launched the iPad. 33 years later. And if I've learned one thing in my business career, if you think it's all going to work up front, it doesn't. And so, if I take Richard Branson and Steve Jobs as the epitome of it, what they do is they look at the top of the mountain. They get very clear on what the top of the mountain is, and then they work backwards. And no obstacle will stop them getting to the top of the mountain. Sure, they might take a different path, but they still get to the top of the mountain. And I love this metaphor. I always remind people, because we have an iPad today, but it took 33 years.